Hey friends, did you know that loneliness is one of the primary factors contributing to depression? Today, we're going to talk about what you can do to help get rid of your loneliness and increase your resilience and your positive factors that help protect you from depression. I'm Laura, and I am a clinical mental health counselor. And I am very passionate about women's mental health in particular, especially in the areas of anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem. These are issues that I see affect almost every woman that comes into my office, and it's definitely something I have walked through in my life. And I'm very passionate about helping other women find skills, solutions, and techniques that they can implement in their life so that they don't have to walk through as long of a difficult season as I did before I learned these skills. But don't worry, these skills are good for anybody, not just women. So let's talk about it. Chances are that at some point through your life, you have struggled with loneliness or depression, or you know somebody who has. So whether it's you, a friend, a child, teenager, your significant other, anybody in your life who is walking through loneliness and depression, this is the video to check out and really think about some of these techniques and tips that we're going to talk about. And for my people who are socially anxious, don't worry, I've got tips for you too. So let's talk about loneliness for a minute. Loneliness is a really big deal, and I think there's a lot of misunderstanding around it because you don't necessarily have to be alone to feel lonely. And I want to kind of break down what is loneliness and why it's so bad for our mental health. Loneliness is really just feeling alone, feeling as if you are your own person in your own corner, kind of in this fight by yourself and in this life by yourself. You feel like other people don't really understand you or like you or want to be with you, or vice versa. You don't really understand other people, like them, or want to be around them. And so either you spend a significant amount of time alone, or you're spending time with people who do not make you feel seen, heard, understood, loved, or wanted, which creates feelings of loneliness even though you're not actually by yourself. You still feel by yourself because nobody is connecting with you on that really deep soul level where you feel really seen and understood and wanted. One form of therapy that I use a lot in my practice is called reality therapy. And in reality therapy, we recognize that all humans have 5 basic needs. And one of those 5 basic needs is the need for love and belonging. It's really important to understand that at a fundamental level, all humans need to feel some sense of being loved and some sense of belonging to a group or belonging with others. It's a really important factor for us to feel fulfilled in life, happy, healthy, and vibrant. So you can see how loneliness is the opposite of feeling loved and belonging, therefore helps contribute to a lot of those depressed feelings. So loneliness can happen when you are with other people, or it can happen when you're isolating yourself from other people. But the most important thing to understand is that regardless of what the source of loneliness is, it is absolutely detrimental to mental health and to living a happy, vibrant, full, healthy life. So today we're going to talk about what to do about your loneliness. And I've got a few tips here that I've written down in my notebook. I'm just going to read through these and talk to you a little bit about each of them, and hopefully you get some good ideas here that you can implement. The most important disclaimer I will ever say about mental health is it does not matter how many techniques, tips, or skills that you learn. They only make a difference if you implement them. They only make a difference if you actually use them and do something with them. So don't sit on this information. Make sure to actually do something with it. My first tip is to try volunteering at an animal shelter. This is something I did when I was in high school, and it goes such a long way to helping with loneliness. It is a very immediate, temporary fix to the loneliness problem. Unfortunately, temporary means that it doesn't last very long, but in the moment, it does really help. And if you do it enough, it helps build up resilience and help give you purpose and connection in your life. This is an especially great tip for people who are socially anxious and have a difficult time making new friends or talking to people or socializing. Because guess what? You're working with animals instead of people. Most animal shelters are in need of volunteers, and there are so many different positions and tasks that you can do as a volunteer. The animal shelter that I used to volunteer at, you could actually sign up for whatever category you wanted. You could be the person who cleaned the kitty litter boxes and fed them. You could be the person who walked the dogs. You could be the person who socialized the cats and pet them and played with them, and same with the dogs. You could be the person who socialized with the dogs. I think most people nowadays understand the healing power of bonding with animals and the serotonin and dopamine hit that comes to our brain when we have some really cute, snuggly animal with us. And it's so good, not only for our brains, but also to help bring us into the present moment. It utilizes one of our 5 basic senses, which is haptic touch, feeling a soft animal against our skin. Any one of the 5 senses, if we have a really strong sensory input to one of them, helps us be more in the present moment. So cuddling animals is really great, petting them is really great, working around them is really great. And honestly, volunteering at an animal shelter is great too, because you're also around other people. You might not necessarily interact with them or talk to them, but you're in a building where there are other people around. They might be in the room next to you or doing other tasks beside you. So it's really great because you're not totally isolated. You get to connect with animals, which are so much easier to connect with if you're a socially anxious person than other humans are, but there are also other humans around, which gives us the illusion of being part of a community. When we talk about loneliness and how to help that, sometimes a temporary immediate relief of the loneliness is a great thing to do. We want those long-term things to really help change your life and give you a community, absolutely. But we also need some of those short-term skills and techniques that you can implement to notice some immediate relief. My next tip is to join Book of the Month Club or something similar to that. Another great tip for my socially anxious people. Book of the Month Club it's a subscription where you can sign up and get a book or two sent to you every single month. And I think within the community, they let you pick. They'll have like 3 or 5 books to pick from, and you get to pick which one you want to read that month and which one is sent to you. And the reason Book of the Month Club is so great for my socially anxious people is because it gives you the sense of community without actually having to one-on-one interact with people or show up at a group or show up at a function and feel all that social awkwardness of having to interact with people. Again, we want to get there one day, but this is a really good short-term thing that you can implement for some relief to your loneliness, to help build those skills, to help build the resilience, and to help build your confidence that you do belong within a group and that you do have a sense of connection to other people. Book of the Month Club is really awesome because it's basically thousands and thousands and thousands of people online every month on any social media platform talking about the same book that they're all reading together, or one of the same 3 or 5 books that the person has picked. And so you get to see all of these different posts with people who are reading the same book as you, and do they love it or did they not like it, and what did they think about it, and who was their favorite character. And you also get to participate in that conversation online, which again, online conversation tends to be a lot easier and less threatening to somebody who is socially anxious. So I have found that Book of the Month Club is a really great tip for people who are currently too afraid to try joining a group in person or participate or introduce themselves to a new group of people in person. It's a really great way to still feel like you're part of a community, feel a sense of belonging because you're doing something tons of other people are doing, and you can have easy conversation online with them about this thing that you guys are both doing together. My next tip is to attend a church. This isn't going to be for everybody, and honestly, it doesn't matter what your denomination is. Being part of a church really helps you feel connected on so many levels. And again, supplement the word church for whatever is the appropriate term for your belief system. It might be a mosque, it might be a temple, whatever it is. It gives you that sense of connection and belonging, both to your God, your deity, a sense of purpose, believing in something bigger than yourself that lots of other people believe in, and a sense of connection of other people. Because I don't know what kind of church you go to, but almost every church I have ever been to in my life, you walk up to the front door and people are already saying hi to you and welcoming you in. And it creates that sense of community, like we are all there for the same purpose, to try to connect more with God, and we all have something in common, and it's a great way to grow deeper in your spirituality, feel connection to something bigger than yourself, feel connection spiritually and fulfillment spiritually, and also be around other people. Again, without too much of a threat, because you don't actually have to make one-on-one conversation with people if you don't want to. So definitely try attending a church, or whatever the appropriate term would be for your spiritual belief system. But get plugged in, get connected to other people, to your spirituality, to something bigger than yourself. That's going to go a long way to help with your loneliness. My next tip is one of my favorites, and it's the one I probably used the most when I was walking through years of depression in my 20s. And that is to do a hobby that you love with somebody else on YouTube who also loves that same hobby. Again, a great tip for my socially anxious people. Very non-threatening, but also gives you that sense of belonging, community, and where you fit in. It doesn't matter what your hobby is. It can be woodworking, it can be scrapbooking, it can be home decorating, DIY projects. Any hobby that you might have, you can find somebody else on YouTube who is also doing that hobby or loves that hobby, partakes in that hobby. And it goes a long way when you are doing your hobby to do it with somebody. Put them on your television, have them on your phone, whatever it is. Play the YouTube video where they are doing their hobby and do your hobby with them together. It just makes you feel like connected. Like, yeah, somebody else gets this dorky thing that I'm into. I'm not gonna lie, I fell in love with scrapbooking when I was like 19, and almost everybody else my age was in college and partying and getting drunk, and I'm over here like a 90-year-old grandma at home every evening doing my little scrapbooking. And I absolutely loved it. And one of the things that helped me feel connected to my peer group was finding other people who had that same hobby, finding other girls and women who also loved scrapbooking. And it can be really hard to find that in your local community, especially if you live in a small town. There might not be anybody else your age who is interested in the hobby that you have, or you might not know how to connect with them or meet them, which is why YouTube is so great, because it's so easy just to do a search of my new embroidery project or how to hand letter, and you can instantly be connected with lots of other people who have the same hobby and are participating in that hobby on camera. And you can put them on in the background, feel connected, feel part of a group. It's almost like having a knitting circle without having to go to the knitting circle. All right, the next one, not as much for my socially anxious people. I will always encourage it because as much as these previous tips that I've talked about are great for socially anxious people, there is nothing that can take the place of actually connecting with another person in person. Online connections are a great substitute short term. Connecting with animals is a great way to help build up that skill, but those things cannot replace actually connecting in person with another human. And I know that's challenging for some people, so maybe start with some of those easier tips and work your way up. But if you're not socially anxious, or if you feel like you can muster up the bravery to do it, join some kind of local group. There are local groups you can find all over the place. Meetup.com is a great one, and my personal favorite is Facebook groups. And you can find local hiking groups, local cycling groups, local D&D groups, anything that is like a really popular hobby, you can find a group for. And I love Facebook groups because usually they'll let you know when you can participate. So I might be in, say, a local Charlotte, North Carolina yoga group, and they might be like, hey, there's rooftop yoga this evening, meet us there. And so that's a really great way to get connected with other people that you already know going into it, that you have something in common with them, and you already have an activity to focus on while you're there. So there's way less pressure on socializing and having to create these conversations with people. You get to just go and do the thing that you love around other people who love the thing that you love as well. So try to find it. It doesn't matter what the group is. It can be a Bible study group. It can be a small group. It could be a gardening club. It could be a D&D game. Any like consistent group that you can get connected with in person, please try to do that. Try to muster up the courage and do that, because nothing can replace those in-person connections. My next tip is to be part of a fandom. This is a really great tip for anybody and everybody. Being part of a fandom just gives you a place of belonging. It gives you that feeling and sense of belonging that, again, is a core need for every single human on this planet. And a fandom is incredible for so many reasons. It gives you something to talk about with people where you immediately have way less anxiety because you already know you have something in common. You already know that you have like 5 different talking points that you could use with them when you talk to them. It just takes so much of the pressure off of trying to figure out, will I jive with this person? And one of my biggest tips for this is to not only be part of a fandom, but express the fandom. So in my therapy office, I usually have a Taylor Swift quote up on one of my quote boards. And I cannot tell you the amount of times I have had a client be like, oh my God, I love her. Like, I am a Swiftie. Are you a Swiftie? And then immediate conversation, immediate trust starts building. We already have somewhere to like build a relationship off of because we have this thing in common, which helps people when they first walk into the office feel way more comfortable with meeting this new person. And the same is true outside of therapy too. I have had so many times, if I'm wearing like a Hufflepuff t-shirt or a Harry Potter fandom, something or another, somebody will come up to me and they'll be like, oh my gosh, are you a Hufflepuff? Or what house are you in? And immediate conversation where I can tell them and I'll be like, yeah, I'm a Hufflepuff. I just want to be friends with everybody and I'm really sensitive. What house are you in? And then we have immediate talking points that we can connect on, and it's so low pressure because when you're part of a fandom, you really love that thing. And so it's easy for you to talk about that thing. So I encourage you to be part of a fandom. Figure out what you love, what fandom you can be a part of. There are literally so many out there. But some ideas that I had are Harry Potter, Taylor Swift, D&D, which is Dungeons and Dragons, Star Wars. So try to figure out, are you a fan of anything, and is there a cult following for that thing? If so, Get yourself a t-shirt that expresses that fandom, and you will have other people automatically wanting to come up to you and have conversations with you about the fandom that you guys have in common. And if you see anybody else that is expressing their fandom and you also belong to that fandom, go up to them and talk to them about it. It's such a low-key way to enter conversation and get to know other people. And my last tip today for loneliness is to try out Bumble BFF. I have so many good things to say about Bumble BFF. I have tried it several times in different periods of my life. I've lived in 4 different states as an adult, and moving makes you have to start fresh with local friends. You have to meet new local people to become friends with. And Bumble BFF is a great way to do that. It can be a little bit challenging for my socially anxious people, but I actually recommend it to most people who are socially anxious because of so many different reasons. One, you can vet people before you ever meet them. It does not take a lot of capacity or energy to just flip through profiles and decide whether or not you want to meet somebody. Do you have enough things in common with them to feel comfortable meeting them? Do you get excited about the idea of meeting them when you read through their profile? Do you guys have stuff in common? Similar values, lifestyle, hobbies, anything like that? And it's a way to vet those people out and decide who you're interested in meeting and connecting with, without having to meet all those other people in person that require your time and energy capacity, where you might not have enough things in common with them to truly connect with them on a deep level. So try out Bumble BFF. It can be a great way to find and make friends who have similar lifestyles, values, interests, or hobbies as you. And my biggest tip for Bumble BFF, I've only ever used the free version. I'm sure the paid version is really cool and has lots of gadgets and gizmos and stuff, where you can like an infinite number of people or whatever. But the free version works just as fine. And my biggest tip for it is to be really picky. Know what kind of friends you're looking for, and don't say yes to people who aren't within kind of that criteria. So for example, I don't smoke and I don't drink. I am not a party girl. So I instantly slide left, is it left, where I say no to anybody, and I live in a city, so it's a lot of people who are like, I'm looking for my girls to go drink mimosas on a rooftop bar tonight. Who wants to go out partying to the nightclub? Those are instantly people that I'm like, no, we don't have enough in common. We don't have enough in common. I love dancing. I love your vibe. You look gorgeous. You look really fun. But I don't think day to day our lifestyles have enough overlap for us to have like a deep connection. Whereas if I see somebody on there who's like, I'm a foster mama who has a cat, I'm like, oh my gosh, you are my people. I am also trying to become a licensed foster parent, and I am obsessed with cats. So if you're picky, you can really find people that you have a really high probability of having a deep connection with when you do swipe right or say yes to certain profiles. And I just want to throw this out here because a lot of people are surprised when I mention Bumble BFF. There are different versions of Bumble. There's regular Bumble, which is like an online dating app, but there's also Bumble BFF, which is a separate app, a separate profile thingy. And that is just for meeting same-gendered friends who have similar interests as you. So definitely recommend Bumble BFF. Don't worry if you're in a committed relationship or not interested in online dating. This is a separate app from the regular Bumble app. This is just a friends making app, and I highly recommend. And it will help you meet people locally that you have stuff in common with, that you are very likely to connect on a deeper level with, who are way more likely to become meaningful friends of yours. So there you have it. Those are my tips for dealing with loneliness and trying to get that sense of love and belonging that we all need to combat depression. You need to be connected with other people. Try out one of these tips. Let me know in the comments down below which one you are most likely to try out and which one scares you the most. Try something. Do something. The worst thing you can do in depression is to stay still. Depression will tell you to isolate yourself, to stay at home, to not have conversations with people, to not reply to texts. It will tell you to stay in bed. It will tell you to do all kinds of self-destructive behavior that are only going to make your depression worse. And it's really important that you're able to recognize which of your needs are not being met, like your need for love and belonging, and how that contributes to your depression, and do something to help fight the loneliness. Do something to connect with other people. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have found this to be a valuable conversation with strategies and ideas that you can consider and implement for yourself or for your loved ones to try to help combat that loneliness and depression. If you want to hear more mental health techniques or learn more about how to have a very fulfilling, vibrant, happy, mentally healthy life, check out my blog. I've got lots of ideas and tips there. This is a topic that I'm really passionate about. And subscribe to my channel if you want to see how I live out good mental health in my life and how a creative lifestyle and doing lots of fun projects is a way that I support my mental health. So if you like creativity, girly stuff, DIY projects, crafts, hosting, any of that good stuff, or if you're really interested in how to live a really connected, deep, meaningful life that gets you excited to get out of bed every day, follow along with my channel. There's lots of subtle mental health techniques that I implement on a day-to-day basis. I'd love to have you as part of this community. So subscribe to my channel, leave a comment down below, and thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Bye!